Now, the other challenge that we have had with our science, technology, and innovation in the country is a fairly weak linkage between scientific research done in our research institutes and universities and the private sector, or if you want, the industry. What has happened a lot of times that the universities have remained in their university offices and laboratories doing research, but this research has very little linkage or infiltration into industry, and vice versa. We have also heard of complaints of the kind of graduates that we produce not being necessarily well attuned to or relevant to the private sector. And this has become a challenge, and therefore one of the things we need to do is to enhance or strengthen the university industry linkages. And a lot of things have started happening. I think there are organizations, intermediary organizations, that have begun to talk about this. There is, for example, the Linking Industry with Academia, LIWA initiative that is going on. But the National Commission for Science and Technology and Innovation is also doing a good job in trying to link industry with what happens in the universities, so that the university research, important as it is for publications, is seen also to feed into policy and into practice, so that what happens in the laboratories at the universities actually help industry to advance their technologies and their innovations. Just as an example, I know that the National Commission for Science and Technology and Innovation, for example, have just launched a new program on university research chairs. A strong component of that program is trying to ensure that the linkages between universities and industry or private sector in general are strengthened. In other words, we are now emphasizing on the application of knowledge. Whatever research is done must be research that is geared towards solving industry's problems. So if we strengthen this linkage, then it means that we will have industry having input into the research agenda of the universities, so that the research priorities for the country are actually prepared in consultation with the end beneficiaries. And these end beneficiaries could be industry practitioners, they could be farmers if it was in agriculture, they could be health practitioners, or even civil society in general. So before we try and strengthen that, then the infiltration of knowledge into the productive sectors of the economy remains weak. And so even if we invested in this research and research remains on the shelves, it doesn't help the country and does help the economy. And therefore, going forward, I think one of the things we need to emphasize is innovation and entrepreneurship, coming out particularly of our universities and research institutes. The final point I want to make is on commercialization of knowledge. And that is the research that we do. How do we get it out of the laboratories into the industry? How do we get, for example, the good research that is being done in our university, whether it is Nairobi or Jomo Kenyatta or Moi, leaving the university premises into the industry? In other words, infusing an element of entrepreneurship on scientific research work. And that has been lacking. We have had isolated incidences. University of Nairobi, for example, have commercialized a fertilizer, Biofix, that is now being sold in the region. We have had examples of, for example, in Moi University, Professor Richard Mibei coming up with industrial dyes out of striga, the weed. Okay, and we could talk about similar examples in other universities, but they are, up to this moment, exceptions rather than the norm. And therefore, what we need to be thinking about, how do we incentivize our researchers to be able to get that entrepreneurial edge to what they are trying to do? In other words, how do they move the products of research, the products of the knowledge generation process into the commercial products and services? So that is something else that I think we need to be able to think about seriously as a country. If it is incentives we need to give them, if it is training, entrepreneurial training that we need to give them, if it is the the institutional environment within the universities that we need to give them, that needs to begin to happen to be able to take the products of knowledge into commercial products and processes.